it becomes not irrelevant, but it becomes a smaller player in the bigger picture of that individual's life. Because, I mean, most of us who are in this room now as adults, can we really attribute our current beliefs and our current understandings to those so-called formative years? Can we always trace them back and say, I am what I am because my parents did this to me? That is very rarely the case.
Okay, I think Norman wanted to come back there. Now we're rapidly running out of time, so if you have a question, it's important to try and ask it soon.
In 1948, the United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Article 19 of that said, anyone should be free to adopt any religion they like and drop any particular religion that they may have been brought up in. This article has been consistently opposed by whole groups of countries, basically Islamic countries. They don't agree with the idea that a person could drop the religion they were brought up in. I think this is something that Muslims should seriously consider, why they should oppose that notion. Surely people should be truly free once, even if they are inducted into a religion when they're very young, free to choose any religion without fearing consequences from their family or from authorities.
I think, Alistair, you were...
First of all, whether religion can lead you to science, well, obviously it can, because it's led you to science, which is great, but of course that doesn't make religion any truer, whatever, because all kinds of things can lead you to science, and that's not an argument for the truth, or otherwise religion, which is, I think, what we're trying to talk about. The last gentleman, I think, what's your question really? Are the things that science can't tackle? Well, obviously not, but because there are things that science we can't know from science, doesn't mean that we can know them through religion, because religion doesn't offer any clearer or more absolute or more grounded way of knowing than anything else. It simply provides you with a set of arbitrary rules, and in this room there are, very obviously from the way the applause has gone, at least 3 sets of people with 3 sets of arbitrary rules, and that doesn't make any of those truer.
Okay, Salim or Norman, did you want to come back with a personal comment?
Yes, on your question and the question of the chap just in front of you about whether the scientists recognise that animals are conscious, I think was his question. You should remember, of course, that it was Catholic doctrine that animals did not have a soul. I'm speaking to Daniel, that's your question, and therefore could be, you didn't need to worry about how they were killed or treated. That was a religious doctrine. And so it doesn't follow that religious doctrines have to be kind to animals necessarily. And scientists, of course, do recognise the phenomenon of consciousness to which your last question referred. That, of course, is an incredibly difficult problem, but we are making progress towards it. And if we find that consciousness is the result of brain activity, as I indicated right at the beginning, this will have tremendous consequences for religion and its notion of a God who can justifiably send people to heaven or hell on the basis of their actions. That is totally illogical.
Okay, Salim?
Just as a final comment, recently in the news we know about a paper that was published in Science from South Korea where they'd actually fabricated data and presented data and collected samples in a very unethical way without having any ethical approval from the university. One of the comments from one of the London people involved in this, Professor Minger, who's involved in stem cell science, in stem cell research, which is a very high-profile area. He said last week, in response to this case, that the peer review process is not designed to pick up fraud. And this is one of the things that underlines science, and working as a practitioner at the coalface, knowing the reality of writing grant applications, writing manuscripts, having them rejected and also rejecting other people's, having them accepted, and discussions of what is statistical power, what is a well-powered study. We see that the way people have been discussing science, they know very little about the reality of the nitty-gritty of how you present data.